When you're producing or mixing or, recording music, you're probably going to come across a situation where you really like a sound. It could be a bass, a synth, a vocal, piano, whatever. But you find that it sounds a little bit harsh. And most of the time, harshness is not something that we're really striving for in our music, right? Like you don't hear artists going around saying, that mix is amazing. It's so harsh. And there's a few different ways that you can address harshness. I'm going to show you how you can do it with an EQ. So let's say we have this piano loop. And we just find that, it's a little bit too harsh for our taste. So I just have an EQ8 pulled up on the piano channel here. And I'm going to use this EQ to sweep through the frequencies and just see if anything starts to stand out to me in terms of being like overly harsh. And there's a difference between like resonant and harsh, right? Harsh means it's really not contributing to the sound in a good way. Like you can have a resonant frequency that's giving a sound its character. Harsh is just something that doesn't sound good and we don't really want it being part of this sound. A couple of things when you're sweeping through, we want to make sure that our Q value here isn't too wide or too narrow, because too wide, it's going to be really hard to isolate those frequencies that might be annoying us. And if it's too narrow, then just everything is going to sound resonant and really terrible. I find a good starting point for me is maybe around like 3 or 4. And the second thing you can do, this is optional, click this little headphones icon. I know that other EQs have this function as well, and it allows you to solo the frequency ranges that are around where you're searching. So for example, this is what it sounds like without the headphone icon. And this is what it sounds like with it. It kind of turns down the volume of the full spectrum. It allows you to better focus almost on, the frequencies as you're sweeping through them. So let's do it with the headphone icon enabled and see if anything starts to stick out at us. There's maybe something around like 1.5K, but the one that stuck out to me the most was the frequencies around like 2.3K. So let me just really solo those and kind of increase the volume. And I apologize if that sounds terrible through headphones, but like that's a frequency that we probably just don't want in our piano, right? It's like piercing to our ears. Once we found this frequency, all we do then is just pull down on the gain and we can adjust the Q to our taste. So let's do that and see if we can make this sound better. Okay, so now let's do a before and after. Hopefully you're able to hear the piano with and without that frequency when I A/B'd it. And as you produce more music or mix more music, master more music, whatever, you're going to get a lot better at identifying where these frequencies are. And you'll eventually just be able to hear a sound and figure out what frequency range it's in. And you'll be able to do this pretty quickly. The last thing I'll say is if you end up with an EQ that looks like this, you just find that it has so many terribly harsh frequencies, then maybe it's not the right sound for your song. Like I would just try finding something that's a little less harsh to start with. Because as soon as you start taking out this many frequencies, most of the time it's going to change the character of the sound pretty drastically. It's going to be more difficult to make it fit in your mix. Again, not always. In my experience, if I'm having 8 different cue points where I'm like surgically removing resonant frequencies, then I'll usually just try and save myself the headache and find like a less resonant sound. Hope that helps you guys.